By now you understand how navigation and routing works. You understand stateful widgets and stateless widgets, along with making your own widgets. How do you pass information back and forth between all of these? That's what we're going to really take a look at in this section. Unfortunately, there are literally millions of ways of doing this, so we're only going to cover a few of the more popular ones. The first one we're going to cover is going to be called like a global state, and there's a few examples of this out on the internet. What we've got here is just a simple application that we did for Section 5 homework assignment. If you didn't do it, go back and please complete it now. It's simply a home screen that goes to a second page and back to the home screen. What we want to do is have a text field here where we can modify some state, click next, and be able to access that variable in the second page. So let's go ahead and expand this out. Let's add another directory. Let's call this code. In our code, we're going to add a file, and let's just call this global state. Just in case we want access to the Dart material package. So we're going to have a map that does dynamic. And let's just grab this. Now we're going to use the infamous static keyword. You rarely use this, and this is a good example of when you would actually use static. So let's make a global state here. And then let's pass this back. So we have our constructor here. Whoops, we kind of screwed that up a little bit. There we go. So really all we're saying here is we have a static variable that references a global state object, and we're calling it instance. And it's a new global state. Now remember with static, only one of these is going to exist for every instance of the class. Then we just simply call in a constructor here. We're going to set that value, and let's add a getter here. That way we can just get it. There we go. If we really want to be super compliant, we can just add the dynamic keyword where needed. And there's not much to that. So really all we're doing is we're saying, hey, we want a global state in memory called instance, and we want to be able to set and get data dynamically to this map. Let's go ahead and open up one of our screens. Let's open up the home screen. We're going to import code and then the global state object. There we go. We're going to add a text editing controller. Call this name. Call that store, and this is going to be the global state.instance. We're going to initialize our state. We're going to add a new text editing controller. And we're going to, let's set a name here. So what's really going on here under the scenes is that we have a new text editing controller. We have our global state, which is actually the instance, and we want to set a name to blank, and then we want to set the text editing controller to whatever the store is, in this case blank. Let's go ahead and go down into here, and let's add in a new text field. Add in our controller, and let's add a new input decorator. So we've got our text field, and now we've got a raise button here. Let's actually make a function called onPress. And in here, we're going to do two things. We're going to set that store's name, and we're going to navigate. We're going to navigate the current context, and we're just going to push named. There we go. Let's grab this and use it right here. So we have our text editor and a button. Let's go here. We're probably going to have to restart that. No, it actually did pick it up, but I'm going to restart the whole thing anyways. Let's go to second. Now in here, let's go ahead and import the global state object. There we go. And we're going to grab that instance. And we're going to display the name. Let's go ahead and restart this whole thing just to make sure everything is accounted for. Going to enter my name and hit next. Hello, Brian. And if I go back, you can see how it still has that state. So what's going on here? Let's deep dive into this a little bit. We have our routes. We have our home page. In our home page, we have an instance of that global state. Now, in the onPress, this is where the magic happens. We're saying store.set. Notice how we're not doing a set state. Let's see what happens if we do. Let's actually break that out just so it's a little more self-explanatory what's going on there, and rerun the whole thing. Type in my name, hit next, and everything still works as expected. So why didn't we need set state? And in what reason would we need set state? We didn't need set state because the global state was actually running as a static variable out in memory. So it's not really a part of state. We use set state to notify anything that's using that as a variable. So you can absolutely modify it, but if you want real-time updates, for example, if we had a label down here, you'd want to do set state. That way it knew something changed.